Welcome, everyone. Welcome back if you're a regular listener. And welcome if you are a brand new listener. I'm very excited to have you, very honored. Today's podcast is about the discussion between intuition and ego. This should be a very fascinating one for you because you know what? Ego, especially in the spiritual world, is a super hot topic. It never goes away. And it's uncomfortable for us to talk about because of the connotation of how bad ego is in the spiritual world. So I really want to just unpack it for you from my perspective and have you not only hear the words about ego and intuition, and so we can categorize it differently, but also give you tips on the feeling that they both have inside of the body so that you can start to navigate these two wildly different emotions that we sometimes superficially get entangled and they seem like they are actually very close. They're very separate, which is really good news. And so when you learn how to feel into them, you'll be able to identify their differences. And that's going to help you make really solid choices in your life. So stick around. I would love to have you be a part of this discussion. Okay, so I feel like the first entry point into this discussion is going to be about ego. Ego in the spiritual world is like a bad thing. It is awful, depending on the type of yoga you practice. If you are a classical trained yogi, which most people are here in the US, that is one tiny little time period. This always drives me nuts about yoga. Everyone does classical, and it's a small chunk of yoga's 5,000 years of history. And it's not your fault. Most people don't even know they're doing classical yoga and that there's other types of yoga out there. And by other types, I mean other philosophies, such as, is God way over there? And you got to clean yourself up to get to God, to get to enlightenment, which is dualism. Or is God already inside of you? And you just need to awaken to that. That's non-dualism. Classical yoga falls inside the thinking of dualism. So there's lots to do while you're alive to get to a state of enlightenment, which is great. Classical yoga and dualism give us a lot of value. It really helps us to give us interesting lenses, I think, to look at our lives, to look at our behavior, and to see where we can level up a little bit. So definitely a lot of value comes out of it. But what frustrates me is not what comes out of classical yoga. It's that all we know sometimes is classical yoga. And in classical yoga, ego is bad. It's a blocker. It's something to purify and clean up. Ego is considered, this really dirty part of us that's low in vibration and really like a heathen in a sense. And so we've got to do all these work, the yamas, the niyamas, we got to do purification, we've got to do the asana, we've got to do all of these things to purify and lighten us. But where I always go with that is even if you clean all that up, it doesn't necessarily mean you know how to work with intuition. Because at the end of the day, you still have a body. And yes, we want to transcend our obsession with our bodies, ego being tied into that. And yes, we don't want to be so full of ourselves that we can't possibly connect with other people or be of service. We don't want to be an asshole either, right? So you and I clearly understand the parts of ego that are just like dickheadish, right? Like, we gotta get that person is an asshole. Ego all the way. There's no room for anyone else. It's only about them. We all know those people. So I don't need to go into too much more on ego. But what I want to say here, and for the context of this episode, is that ego is not bad. Ego is a quality of your mind. Ego is what the mind does. Another word for ego that I like is the subjective self. The I, the capital I. I know I'm Kim Fisher, And I'm today the same Kim Fisher that existed yesterday. And tomorrow, hopefully, if I don't have a stroke or receive any brain injury, I will be the same Kim tomorrow too. Of course, we know from patients who have strokes or receive brain injury that it's not always the case. Depending on where the injury or the stroke occurred, we can see dramatic changes in their personality, and their relationship to self disintegrates. Relationships to others disintegrates. They no longer can recognize family members, or they recognize them but don't remember their name, etc. So as long as my brain is good tomorrow in the same way it is today, knock on wood, hopefully it is, I will be the same subjective the same subjective self. My ego will still be intact. And that's good, because I got a lot of plans for tomorrow. I got a lot of things I want to do, which brings me to my next point. Ego isn't bad because it actually helps us to operate in the world. It's when it gets out of hand. It's what you do with ego that actually matters. So if you're letting it run the show all of the time, you're probably going to run into some issues. Namely, not that ego's bad and you run into issues because you are in an egoic state. It's because of the symptoms that come along with it's the behaviors that come along with you being in a constant egoic state. And I'll give you some examples of that just in a moment. Now let's look at intuition. Intuition is really sexy. And it's big in the yoga world. It's big in the spiritual world. We all want to find our intuition and feel into it. And you should, and it's great. But sometimes we take it literally and it stays locked in the mind. And that's not intuition. That's just more ego thinking. Intuition is more of a feeling in your body. And the feeling may not have words. And that's something we just have to be prepared for. And that's often why people shy away from, I think, their actual intuition, is because it actually gets misidentified as just like a mood, right? Or maybe it doesn't get identified at all because it's actually very subtle and soft. Or it gets identified, but because we can't quite put a name on it, we can't quite label it, we let it go because, well, what the heck can I do with an emotion that I can't label? Because you're so used to being in the ego mind that knows everything. Or at least it thinks it does. I'm sorry, I'm going to be drinking a lot of water here because I just left the aqua spa with a sauna and then the salt room, and all the salt has pulled and the sauna has pulled all of the hydration out of my body. So lots of water, lots of swallowing sounds. So intuition, I don't know that most of us even know how to feel it, if we're honest. And I got to say, I was the same for a very long time. Intuition was something to like chase after, right? Because the ego was bad, intuition must be the better way to be. But what if we don't know how to get there? What if we don't know really what the flavor is like? Are we actually living an intuitive life? Are we actually aligned with our intuition? Or are we aligned with a shade of the ego that likes to think it has some control? Are we aligned with a regurgitated sense of intuition? And by that, I mean, let's say you are listening to your intuition. Is it yours? Or is it a regurgitated message from the past that's not even your own? Maybe it's a former family member. Maybe this is wisdom passed down that hasn't fully been integrated, that really isn't even helpful for you. So why the hell do you still have it? Call it intuition, but intuition might be exactly the thing you've never felt before. And it most likely will be. So let's get into it. And let's first talk about why is this podcast important? Why am I talking about this? You guys, so many times in my life, I have made decisions from ego. And again, we're not going to do a blame game here. And I'm certainly not in any way coming at you, my listeners. I love you guys in any harmful way. So please listen to all of this with love and know that I love you. And this is coming in a spirit of just joy and awareness. Okay. Self awareness without judgment, the highest path, according to Swami Kripalu. So we're going to do that. Okay. We're going to anchor into some truth. It's going to hit, it's going to stir something up for you. But we always are at the base of this, loving ourselves so fucking hard that we are willing to learn about ourselves and forgive. Okay? Can we agree to that? All right, awesome. Let's continue. So for me, any decisions that I made in ego in the past, they went well for a time period. They went well for a short time. And then trouble started to brew, whether that was in a romantic relationship or whether that was in a friendship with a girlfriend, whether that was a financial decision and purchase, whether that was a job, like raising my hand for a promotion that really only served my mind and never really aligned with my body. And then I'm in the role of this new job and I hate it, but right, it looks good on paper. It looks good to the ego. It checks all the boxes. So of course I would want it, right? But no, the body was screaming something different. So I've made those decisions based on ego in the past. And it doesn't always go so well. Now, I want to pause here and say you can be very successful still living from the ego. People do it all the time. But I'm guessing my audience here is aligned with me, and like me, you want to and you're concerned with, and your point here is to live in harmony, to find some balance. You don't want to be the bad guy. You want to be the good guy. You want to have this harmony about you and a brilliance about your presence, which really is dripping into a healthy blend of energy and wisdom and intuition, right? So we know that we have to make decisions. We know that we need to balance our bank account. We know that we need to do taxes. We know that we need to make sure we set an alarm. Like these are all to get up in the morning and go to work. There are certain things that the ego needs to pay attention to so that we operate in the world. After that, feel free to be an energy fucking being. Feel free to dive into intuition like you've never done before. And we're going to talk about how in just a moment. Now, the best success. So I mentioned you can be successful living off your ego. I've done that before. I've made lots of money before, had great success before with the studio, even Lotus Life Yoga Center being open for the first time. That was a financially fucking amazing avalanche of money. I have the balance sheet on my wall over here in my office where I have my 2 vision boards. Brandon has one, I have one. And then I have my balance sheet because the money is so silly. Ridiculous what I made before. It's also ridiculous what I spent. That's a whole nother podcast. Okay? But I love myself. I know why I did it. Primarily, that business was ego driven. It was a beautiful thing. So many people were healed in the presence of Lotus Life. So many teachers, incredible teachers walking through that door and spending time there, building the family, building the Sangha. Lotus Life wasn't bad. My ego wasn't bad. But the quality of my experience eroded over time. And I became very burnt out. I became very confused. I was frustrated at one point, and I had no connection to source or the one at all. Every decision I started to make was about money. Every decision I started to make was about competition because I believed in it at that time. What's she doing? Oh, can I do it better? Oh, what's the words she's using? Oh my gosh, what's the synonym for that? Like I constantly was playing like follow the leader, and at the same time, and I didn't know it, completely eroding my self-confidence. Which that only makes ego feel like it needs to step up further. When you're living from intuition, there is a natural flow and a natural state of self-confidence. We don't need to look over the fence and go, what do they got? We don't need to peer through the windows at night and go, what are they doing? We don't need to look at ourselves and go, oh my God, I'm lacking. all of that vanishes. And I mean that. You're going to hear that and you're going to go, no, it's going to be hard. I'm going to have to unlearn something. And I'm telling you, no. Intuition is not an unlearning of the ego. Remember, ego isn't bad. It can be there. It helps you operate in the world. It helps you put air in your tires when you get that signal in your car that you know what I mean? Like there's certain things where the ego goes, let's be safe now and get this done. But beyond that, you're an energy being. And you're allowed and you should nurture your connection to intuition. Your fear of not having enough vanishes. Why? Your fear of not being enough vanishes. Why? Because intuition is in direct alignment with the source, with one, with God, Brahma, Creator, Jesus, whatever that is for you. Intuition is a feeling, it's a holiness, it's a spirit inside of you. It's grace. When we open up to that grace inside of us, we really are in a direct channel and current with Source. When you are in that direct current, there's nothing else to seek. There's nothing that you're not. You are everything that you want. Whereas ego is limited to the constructs of your mind, the patterns of the mind, the programming of your mind, what you've been told you can and can't be, what you've been unconsciously told, modeled to by your parents, up their authority figures, whoever, who you can and can't be. That's your programs. That's your unconscious programming. That's going to play out in the conscious mind, aka the ego. So that still needs to be dealt with. We still need to reprogram the unconscious mind on many levels. But there's another way of being. So we're going to turn now. We're going to turn the corner in this story. And we're going to bring in the body now. Okay. So remember, I told you that we need to be able to feel. Feeling if it's ego, feeling if it's intuition. It's going to help you when you're at the fork of the road. What do I do? Where should I go? Who should I be? What is this decision I have to make? So many of you, and I know because I hear you come into the studio or we talk at MMM, and you've got these decisions and you act like it's a fucking thorn in your side. And I mean that because it's ego based. Ego goes, holy crap, how am I going to be enough? Am I enough? Do I know what to do? Am I ready? Am I prepared? Am I worthy? Can I rise to this challenge? Was it meant for me? Is this really meant for me? Okay, I'll go for it, but can I hold it? Am I allowed to do this? Am I allowed to say I want that? If I say I want that, do they like me still? Will they like me still? If I say I want that, if I go for it and I do a great job, will other people hate me? Will I start to lose friends? Is it safer for me to say who I am right now? These are all questions of the ego. Now, how does that feel in the body? I mean, I'm saying it out loud right now and I feel it in my body, even though it's not real. Feels like shame, right? It feels like a pit in my stomach right here. It's just like, ugh. Like it feels heavy and dull. It feels tight in my chest. Your ego is going to feel constrictive. And the language you might start to use are languages of comparison. Like if I, then what about them? Comparison and lack. If I do this, will I not be enough of that? If I do this, will that fail? Will that suffer? So the lack language comes up, which is the scarcity concept. You need, if you're in the ego-based decision making, you need control. Control needs all the details. So if you find you're making a decision and you're like, I need to know this, and then you get all those answers and you still don't fucking feel satisfied or ready to go, you did all that work in ego. Congratulations. You got nowhere. Now, on some level, figure out your salary, figure out, the logistics. Yes, there are some ego things, some conscious logistical things that need to go down in almost every situation. That's life. That's a joy. That's the gift of being human. The other joy and gift of being human is then after you get those things you need, you pause, you turn the lights down low, you do some breath work, and you start to visualize, right? Visualize yourself doing the thing that you are being asked to possibly do. How does it feel? Get your mind to play out this visualization for you and then get emotionally invested. Get emotionally invested. This is one of the most important psychological tricks you can do for yourself. John Proctor talks about this all the time. Get emotionally invested. So don't stop thinking about something until you feel it. And then do it the next day. You've got time. If anyone ever says, I need to know now, just say, don't thank you then and walk away. Like 100,000 for realzy%. If anyone says, I need to know now, you go, okay, well, this is on my timing. This is on my agenda. So no, thank you. Now's not the right time for me. And you walk away. The gifts that are meant for you, like truly meant for you, you're either going to know right there on the spot as soon as before the words have even finished coming out of that person's mouth, you're just going to know, or you're going to intuitively be given time. You're just going to know and no one's going to be rushing you. This is really important. Do you want to go forward in your decisions feeling light or constricted? Do you want to go forward in your decisions feeling at peace and ease, or egoic and manic and also competitive? Even my hands right now, if you're watching the YouTube video recording of this, I just did like a tiger claws, like egoic and constrictive. Like I just feel like tiger claws come out, right? Let's get back to the feeling. What else happens in the body when you're in intuition? You get light up. You lit up like a bulb. You'll feel this tingling in your spine, and maybe you'll even sit up taller and you're like, whoa, what's this? Your whole body will respond like an erection, quite frankly. Look for that. Look for that. Now, because you're probably going to be in the mind when your opportunities or questions or whatever it is are coming to you, you may not look even at the physical body's response of sitting up taller. But now you're going to start to pay attention to it. What is lighting you up? That's intuition. Whereas ego is going to feel what's called dukkha. Dukkha in yoga is a heaviness. It's dullness. You will not, it's the opposite of being lit up. You will not feel lit up. You're going to feel like, I want to go hide in the dark while I figure this out. Let me step back from the entire world. I'm going to retreat away from everyone because I don't want anyone to see me going through this right now. Separation. Ego loves to be separate. Ego is the lone wolf. Intuition is the tribe. Ego says, I got this on my own. Bye-bye. Let me go figure this out. Intuition says, where's my people at? Let me talk to this person. Let me get involved. Let me see what it's like when they do it. Like, what do you think? Like, let me go there together. Intuition is going to feel really light also in the body. You're going to be like, able to breathe. Like, seriously, you guys, like, this seems so simple, I know, but so many times we overlook the light. We overlook the soft because we're so used to dealing with heaviness and dukkha and fastness. And this sort of rajastic energy, this fiery energy, right? So it's really easy to think, and that's the way the world works. So, but you are taking the power back here. Intuition is you stepping into your yes, the current with the one, remember? So it might feel lighter when you're in this intuitive flow, whereas or softer, and it feels light, like a velvety or something like that. Whereas if you go back into the ego state, it's going to feel like a rock thud right on your chest. There's no movement. I can't quite, it's just, it doesn't feel like this flow in the body. Are you able to breathe well when you talk about it? If not, if it makes you like swallow a lot, if it makes you like your eyes go dart left and right a lot, if you can't quite even be still and hold it, we're probably in alignment with the ego. Which again, this isn't bad, but it's the body is saying, hey, hey, I'm not on board with this. So that's where intuition comes in. Intuition is pre-verbal. We don't need the words. We don't need the story. We don't need to know. We don't even need to change into someone else. Intuition says you're good just as you are, because you are and you come from the source. So it's going to feel light. Think of the qualities. What are the qualities right now of the source of one, of God? Is that heavy? Is it staticky? Can it not breathe? Is it like wicked competitive? Fuck no, right? Hell no. Like the source is light, and it's love. It's the currency and frequency of love. It's the frequency of abundance. It helps you thrive. It wants you to intuitively connect and instantly, right? You might be like, yes, I want to take action. And you're starting to see how the cards stack up already. That's a state of flow. That's the currency and the current of the one. Whereas when you're in the ego state, we're all in the mind, we're thinking limitations. Okay, well, that has to happen, then that has to happen, but that's not possible. We think the impossibilities, we think scarcity when we typically are in ego. So here is the last thing I want to leave you with. And this is really interesting, and I really deeply hope this serves you. I'm really excited about talking about this because this is everything we are, right? We're always making decisions. There's always, from getting up, what time should I get up, to what should I eat for breakfast, to should I invest in this company or not? Should I say yes to this job? Should I start up my own business? Like, should I fall in love with this person? Should I say, like, there's so many decisions that you can use this now to really feel all of you. Like, we can make a whole integrated, beautiful decision. Remember, input is output. So if you want an output of something to be beautiful and feel lovely and light, it's worth asking that. What do I want this interaction to be like? How do I want this to be when I'm done? Do I want to feel amazing? Do I want to be thriving? Do I want to feel abundant? Then I better make sure now on the input, I'm feeling aligned and alive and whole, and I'm feeling the qualities, the physical qualities of alignment with the one. So when you are in ego, you're going to be following the hype. You're going to be following the intensity. You're going to be like a dog on the trail. Do you know what I mean? Like, sometimes you get things in your head and you can't stop thinking about it, and there's just like intense pressure, and you're like, I got to figure this out right now. And you talk about it. You don't stop thinking about it. You dream about it. And it's just like the mind becomes obsessed. There's no room for any other thought. And it's like a blocker. It like shuts you down and it gives you tunnel vision. That is the quality of the ego, where we follow the pressure. And when we're in the mindset, or the feeling rather, of intuition, you take inspired action. Your ability to make decisions flow in easily. You take inspired action with faith and with joy. Overthinking and you're just, the mind's going crazy about it. It's almost like, I don't know, you just like see maybe a leaf or something blowing in the wind, and you're like, oh my God, that thing's going to snap. That whole branch is going to fly off that tree. Whereas a branch that is not blowing just has the qualities of steadiness and ease. Input equals output. So again, it's not that ego is bad. It's just we really have a choice here. We have the ability, and use it, leverage it. We have the ability to feel into our sacred yes, or feel into the sacred no. I'm going to tell you right now that 100%, maybe 99% of all of the decisions you make in your life, you should employ both ego and the intuition. It's up to you, the ratio of each and how long you might feel into both. That's going to be based on you and your level of experience with this sort of topic and ideas and concepts. Practice, practice, practice. Here's my homework for you guys. Practice this on something small. Like tomorrow morning when you get up and you want to make some food for breakfast, or maybe even tonight when you're like, should I wear pajamas or should I sleep naked? Like, stop, close your eyes, take some deep breaths. See yourself doing the thing you want to do. And then see the feelings that come up. Remember, visualize and get emotionally involved and stay there until you actually feel something. Do you feel light or do you feel heavy? Do you feel at ease and joyful? Are you even smiling inside or outside when you think of this? Does it light you up? Or are you feeling kind of like meh, not even interested? Or even does it like trigger you to not even breathe well, right? Like there is a very distinct and clear path between ego and intuition that I know for sure with some practice on these low bar practicing opportunities in your everyday occurrences, you will start to develop your feelers like antennae, right? Like we want to start to develop and sensitize ourselves to the ability to feel. So please do not listen to this and immediately make some crazy life decision because you just think it's, remember me, I was talked about, we think we know intuition because really it's a regurgitated or shadow of our ego. Ego likes to think it knows it's about control. And then we think we're in intuition when we're really not. So we want to be able to feel our way into intuition, and that will take some time to sensitize. So again, your homework is start with something low bar tonight. Start with something ordinary and practice and practice and practice. And what will happen is that your mind is going to start to notice what you're doing. And it's going to automatically at some point start to do this for you during the bigger events. And even when you're not even trying to feel, you are just going to inherently be paying attention to the body more. And then boom, you'll get a hit. Oh, that's intuition. Yes, I will absolutely. I feel inspired. I'm going to take inspired action. Or boom. Oh, that's all ego right there. Nope, not even going to touch that with a 10-foot pole. I'm going to leave you with this. This gets really interesting when you practice it on yourself, even more interesting when you see it and start to feel it from other people. Now, don't be an asshole and go out there and be all like, hey, I'm reading your energy right now and you're totally in ego, right? Like no, this is for you and your purposes only. Use this skillfully after you've practiced it on yourself. Use it compassionately as well. We do not want to introduce any more trauma as we go through this magical work, but eventually you'll be able to be with someone and you'll feel their energy. Some of you already do this. You're going to feel it in your body as tension and you'll go, okay, like I'm going to go ahead and give myself a polite excuse to get the hell out of here. Or, this feels so beautiful. When I'm with them, I feel so you know what I mean? You'll feel light and you'll know that there is an intuitive connection between the two of you. People can light you up just as much as events. I love you guys so much. I'm so excited to talk about this with you, and I really hope you enjoyed this. Let me know in the comments. And if you're watching this in YouTube, please subscribe. I would love to have your support, and this always shows me, if you like this type of topic, what I can continue to speak on. Love you, and I can't say that enough. I love you, love you, love you. And have fun. Have fun playing between ego and intuition, and enjoy your innate abilities to develop skills in both. See you next time.